Is the Christian publishing industry changing or just evolving? Let's talk about that today.
Sorry. I have us playing on another tab, obviously, for a comment. I was saying, hello, welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie authors on their journey to publication. I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
And I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
Well, welcome to everybody. We really appreciate everyone who listens to our podcast, but a special shout out goes to our wonderful and faithful listeners and watchers of our live broadcast. And some of you all would be regular loyals, but annoying stuff like a job has to get in the way of our shenanigans. So we do appreciate you checking in with us anyway. Sarah, you're one. I know Teresa also would love to be here live if she could. There's Sarah wishing us a happy show beforehand. And hi, Piper. We're so glad that you are here, even though your internet is spotty where you are. Thanks for the attempts. I hope you're getting lots of special snuggles today and cuddles from littles in your life. And welcome to everybody, even if you're listening, not at 10 a.m. Eastern, which is when we do our live show every Friday. We appreciate your support. Anybody and everybody, please come over to our YouTube channel, give us a like and a subscribe so that we can grow the audience that we reach. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Hi, Jen.
Hi, how are you today, Jamie?
Doing good. Still just the two of us because Tina's off. Having a good time visiting with her family. And we are talking today about the Christian publishing industry as a whole. Mm-hmm. Interesting topic choice. And I know that you were sort of prompted to put together this episode. And I was immediately, yes, this works. What kind of brought this topic to your mind, Jen?
I honestly don't remember, but I do know, like, whenever I think about Christian publishing, I start to think about my own journey. And, it's not been that long. It feels like in some ways it's been forever since we started writing and seriously taking our writing career seriously. But it just seems like yesterday, So I started my writing journey, I guess it's been 10 years now that I decided to finally sit down and write the book, right? And when I sat down to write the book, it was going to be a hit, of course. And I was going to, my goal was Bethany House or Tyndale or, one of the big Christian publishing houses, because you would walk into stores like Family Christian stores. And you would see us where I would get my Christian books, and I would go in there and I'm like, someday I'm going to be on these shelves. And well, fast forward just a couple years in my writing journey, I'm finishing up book one, which actually was the third book that I wrote, but ended up being the first in the series. And everything I was seeing online, I was following lots of podcasts and learning about writing craft and learning about just the industry of writing and how to market books, and everything I was learning was telling me go indie. But in my mind, I'm like, no, I'm good enough to go traditional.
Yes, because see, back then, that's what it was like. Back then, indie publishing was very much looked at as vanity press.
Yes.
Indie publishing was what you did if you weren't able to cut it in the traditional publishing world. So there was a big decision people had to make, because also once you independently published, the ideal was you had to stink about you and trad publishers wouldn't even touch you. So it was like a really big decision that we all had to make.
Right. If you indie published a book, you could never trad publish it. They wouldn't touch it because you'd already put it out there. I remember, I forgot about that. That was this whole big thing. And now, we'll talk about that.
Well, yeah, we're getting
there. But a little off of our outline, a little off topic. If you I think most writers, serious writers, understand that this is this is a viable way to publish your book. It is no longer frowned upon, especially by other authors and like that. But you will still come across people in the wild that don't understand and think that like you couldn't cut it in the real world or in the publishing world. But anyway, that's something you
And
should go with.
also, funnily enough, these same people will be very impressed if they see your book is for sale on Amazon.
I know. Right. Exactly.
Your book is on Amazon? Like, they don't understand that you put it there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm published by a publishing house, by Philosay Publishing.
Yeah.
I own Philosay, but whatever.
Oh gosh.
But
Okay, so that was then, right, Jen?
that was
Like that
then.
was then.
And
Mhm.
now you look at it and a lot of the negative stigma is gone. Not only is it gone, so much in the traditional publishing world has changed. So we're
Yeah.
gonna talk about that today. Like is it possible that indie Christian authors are actually in a better position than those that are traditionally published? Maybe we can talk about that too. But self-publishing has definitely risen a lot in the past 10 years. But there's also something else we're going to talk about today that's newish us. We know about it. We've not even dipped our toes in it, but direct to reader platforms or direct to reader off of your own platform. We're going to talk about that today. So we're going to break down today what's changing. So it used to look like we talked about, Jamie, I never heard the word gatekeeper before I met you. But you used to talk about the traditional gatekeepers. What does that mean? Can you explain to me what that is?
Well, it's sort of what we were alluding to before. Imagine if you were a hero of a novel and you marched up to the castle after your very long journey and you knew you were destined to marry the princess, but unfortunately there's the guard standing there, possibly with a big tall hat, who knows. But anyway, he will say, what gives you the right to come into the castle and talk to the princess? And that's what publishing used to be. There used to be gatekeepers to basically vet the quality. Well, presumably that's what it became.
Right.
But imagine they're trying to protect the reputation of Tyndale House or any of these other big publishers that you mentioned, and they wanted to be sure that any book that bore their seal met certain standards, even if it was just was a product that they needed to put on their shelf. For whatever reason, they could give your book a future or kill it. And so they were considered publishing industry gatekeepers.
Because to them, it's like, can I make money off this book or not?
Correct.
Or do I have customers that want this book or not? So if you're somebody in the 70s, 80s named Jeanette Oak, and there's really no such thing as Christian romance yet, like really somebody actually looking at her work and getting behind it, and really, like, it was not an easy road to get her books published. Now Christian romance like dominates the Christian book field. So because it started with her. Go ahead.
Yeah, but what are we even talking about now? Because we had it, like you said before, there used to be brick and mortars in every major city for specifically Christian goods, including shelves upon shelves of books. So who would get that retail shelf space? And that's where people were going to get their books once upon a time too.
Yes. And they're still smaller, and that still does exist, but not to the level that it used to. Right. So no longer are we having to go through a publishing house that says, do I have an existing base of customers that want this book? Now we are like, we have to find someone who is interested in my book. Like there are readers out there. Like maybe there aren't the amount of readers that would make Lifeway Books happy for like our specific book, but enough to make us happy, right? So so this has been the shift in the past 10 years, is that we know the brick and mortars kind of are non-existent anymore. Like it's sad because we have one locally that's still a traditional Christian bookstore, really well run, really nice store, and I love going in there. My books are in there. They don't sell in there. You want to know why? Because this is what you see. Oh, okay, careful. I almost exposed my cover that I haven't released yet. Hold it. You see this.
Mm-hmm.
You see this right here. That's it. For those of you listening, I'm just showing the spine. This is how I'm displayed in the
Yeah.
bookstore with a ton of
Mm-hmm.
other authors that people know the name of because,
Right.
because they've been around for a long time. Um, when they had me out in front with all the Michigan authors, I sold a lot. But then once I sold so much, they're like, "We're going to put you in with regular romance. You're a legit author." That I stopped selling with them. But I really wasn't making as much there as I made on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or all the other outlets. Um, so, um, since that is kind of gone,
Yeah, it used
it's
to be a very centralized, controlled,
slow.
curated, slow. Oh my goodness, the traditional publication timeline. I can't even believe it.
It
3 years.
still is that way if you go
It makes
traditional.
me wonder, Jen. I really want to find how it's made, about how books, like, is it several rounds of editing? Is it several rounds of arguments about what the cover should be? Like, why is it that, like, I want to know?
I
You know what
have
I
the
mean?
answer.
What
Because
is the
so all of that does play into it. However, they have a publishing schedule.
Oh, of
So they
course.
fit you in and they've already scheduled out for 2 years. And then they're going to fit you in because
Mm.
they're only going to promote you for like 30 days for what little
Forgot
promotion
about
they
that
give you
part.
anyway. Right.
Yeah, I forgot about that part too. Mhm.
My first book was published in 2017, 2018. It was published in 2018. It's still one of my number one sellers. But do you think I still promote it? I still work on it. I still like am out there grinding for it, and that's why it sells. They would not be doing that. So also, we've talked about this in the past. Even if you went the traditional route today, back then too, you have to do all your own promotion. Like
Okay.
you go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. I think yes, because we're gonna get into how the better than ever. Like, I think you're touching
Yes.
on, yes. Okay. So
Yeah.
what's
That's what it,
changed? Okay. Yeah.
right. So
Yeah, go for it, Jen.
the rise of indie and hybrid authors, this is
Yes.
what has changed everything.
Yes.
And you will
Mhm.
see not just in Christian publishing, but in publishing in general, that publishing houses are now the pendulum is swinging the opposite direction, and they're trying to
Absolutely.
act like indie authors. Like
Mhm.
before, they were like, this is traditional publishing. If you can make it, this is this is how it should be. And the indie authors are like, okay, well, we're just going to be scrappy and we're going to just do what we have to do to like get some money coming in, even if it's not exactly the way the traditional authors do it. Now these publishing houses are like starting to be hybrid, or there's other publishing houses that are popping up that are hybrid, not to be confused with vanity publishing. We've had episodes about that. We probably should hit that again soon, but not to hit, not pay for play. These are not, a hybrid is not you pay them. No,
No.
if anyone's asking you for money, run. That is not what you should. Reach out to us and we'll tell you how it's done. But because there were so many, like, albeit there's some bad ones out there's some bad players out there in the indie publishing
Sure.
world. Yeah, but there are some really good writers. Like there are some really good Christian writers that have chosen to self-publish because of all the reasons that we talked about before that, So it's no longer considered second tier or you didn't make it. It is a choice that you make. It's no longer the backup plan. So that is the most important thing. All of this is growing and it is now like really taking over Christian publishing.
Well, and I think your point about people getting scrappy ties into earlier, excuse me, when you were saying the audience might not be big enough for Tyndale House, but the audience is out there, and the authors just decided to find them, just to go out there and find them. And that's why direct to reader platforms, like you hinted at, are exploding, because authors have just decided, I'm going to go find the people who want to read what I want to write,
Right.
and I'm going to sell to them.
And
So,
today, the
Mhm.
newsletter is greater than the bookstore.
Why is
And
that? What do you mean?
meaning, like in our salons, once a month for those of our Patreon supporters that support us, we have a once a month Patreon salon. It used to be called a Q&A, but we have no answers. So like, but we have a lot of supporters that have like a lot of experience and they're out there and they're doing the work, right? And to sit there and we listen, we talk with each other in our group of people. there are some people that are just starting out, and there's some people that have been doing it for a while, and those that have been doing it for a while have thousands. Like, we're not talking hundreds, but into the thousands. Like, and we cheer when someone has to start paying more for their mailer light or their MailChimp, because it means they have more subscribers. Thousands of people that get an email from them about their updates. When you put your book on a shelf, how many people are going to see it, especially when they're looking at just the spine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and guess what? You control your email list. You don't
Right.
control where you put on the bookshelf or when you put it, if you even get on the bookshelf. That was the big deciding factor for me when I really felt the Lord kind of tugging at my heart. I'm like, you know what? I want to read some new Christian romance. I had a whole bunch of old Christian romance that I loved, but I'm like, I want to read what's coming out right now and see how I compare to it. So I went to the Christian bookstore, and there were no displays other than just go to the Christian romance section and pull out a book. So I pulled out
Wow.
a book, and I got home, went to read it, and I realized it was book 3 of a series. I was so
Oh
mad.
no. Oh no.
So I'm like, you know what? I knew that the bookstore didn't have the other 2 because this one, they weren't together. So I'm like, all right. I went on to Amazon and I looked up this author and found out not only were there the other 2 books, but book 4 had just come out a few days earlier. And it was with a big publishing house. It was a pretty
Really?
big
Like it
deal.
was trad pub.
It was trad pubbed, and there was no sign in the Christian bookstore that this was the newest release from I'm not going to say which publishing house. It's a big one. It's the one you would expect for Christian romance. There was no fanfare. There was nothing. There wasn't even like a little display on the end cap saying release this month. Nothing like that. And I was like, if they're not even going to do that, like, why would I want to give up my rights and give up the money when when they're not even going to do that part? So that was the big deciding factor for me. Okay. So email list, you don't control the bookstores. And there are platforms like we've talked. I mean, everyone knows Amazon is still the dominant player in the field with this. Again, you don't have a ton of control over how you you don't know who's buying your book. It'd be so great if they could sign up for your newsletter through Amazon, but Amazon does not allow that. But you can put in the back of your book information about your newsletter. That's where I've gotten the majority of my newsletter subscribers, is through the back of my book. There are things like Patreon, Substack, YouTube. People are using YouTube. I'm going to talk about that later this year, but people are using YouTube to not just promote their book, but to distribute their audiobooks and making really decent money doing that. And then here's the thing that I am the most excited for as an indie author, but I'm also the most nervous about, is selling direct to my readers through my website. You guys, people are doing this. There are companies that help you do this with and you can sell directly on your website. And guess what? You make all the money and it goes directly in your bank account the day the person buys it.
Right.
Blows my mind. It's a whole nother area I don't understand. I don't know yet. It's a whole nother job to put on my plate. I get that. But for those that are doing that, they said they would never go back. That has made a huge difference. So instead of promoting and sending people to Amazon, now are you going to get ranked like number 1 like that if you make a bunch of sales? No, but your bank account will be fine. We'll be happy about it, right? So
right. And what I'm thinking is if you have to put in all of this effort paying for Amazon ads and paying for ads elsewhere to send people to Amazon where you only get a portion, why would you not just spend that advertising money putting your actual name and website out for people to go there instead of to Amazon? So this is a very interesting take.
And I do think that it is the release time is important. I think that getting ranked with a new release is important because it signals to Amazon's algorithms that people are looking there and they'll send more people to look. That's important. But when all that kind of dies down and you're just back into the rhythm of selling your book on Amazon, would not hurt to then also be selling it on your platform. Now, you cannot be in Kindle Unlimited and sell an ebook through your website. So that's a whole other thing too. We're going to get this is where I'm diving into this year is, do I stay in KU? Do I get out of KU? What is the future of my author business look like this year? So we're going to be talking about that kind of stuff later. But
Well,
this is the shift. The shift is from the last 10 years has gone from the trad pub is the way to go. Everyone thinks that this is what they want, to the fact that publish your own audience is what is where it's at in publishing right now.
well, and I'm glad that the next thing to talk about is the
Sorry, I meant
decline.
author owned. I slipped. Author owned
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
audience.
Yes, author-owned audience. That's the way to go moving forward. But I was just thinking to myself, this is very interesting from a writer's perspective. And I thought that just because I was a writer, the way that I shop for books might be different. But if I'm only a reader, I'm very curious. What do readers do for books now? I mean, there's maybe a couple of bookstores in your town, but what are they doing? Are they going, where are they finding books? How are they finding out about them? Are they just reading what their friends recommend to them? And again, I think I'm an anomaly the way that I shop for books. I don't think I'm like everybody else. So this is a big question that I have now that brick and mortar is declining.
Right. I think there's a couple different answers here, and I think that we can't ignore. I think that we have to look at all of these answers. First of all, Amazon, there's a reason why it's the number one. Is not only is it do they sell books, but they sell everything else. And I think that even older generations have started to lean into being able to order something and it show up at your door. I don't have to go to every
Oh,
store in the
yeah.
town. So
Hmm.
because of that convenience, even the older generation has started to lean into ordering things, dog food, um, your favorite tea that your grocery store doesn't carry anymore, but you can find on Amazon, things like that. They've leaned into it, and so it doesn't feel so awkward, I think, for them to order books on Amazon, usually physical. If we're talking about the older generation, because that's what they would go to the Christian bookstore for, would be a physical copy. Um, for me, I've always said this, that grandmas love me. Like that is one of my number one buying is that age generation is like grandmas. I say people that are like are empty nesters, they're older, they just love Christian romance. That in my experience, I've even had people come to me and say, so and so gave me your first book, but she doesn't have the second book. Can I get your second book? Like they want to buy from me personally. Like that's actually happened to me. So they're still looking for ways of getting physical books. But I will say, sadly, as that generation dies off, like we're the next generation and we are 100% ebooks. And like I love a physical copy, don't get me wrong, but I only buy a physical copy if I love the book so much I know I'm going to read it again, and I want to have my hands on the copy of it. um
I
so
really, yeah.
yeah, so people
Okay.
are going to all the different distributors of ebooks. That's what is happening. So
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. The brick and mortar is just declining. And now, if you want to be visible, you've got to have content and community and rely on those algorithms to really push your stuff forward and be smart with your advertising dollars.
I,
We
I
have to have a talk about how to sell print on demand from your website. That's interesting. It's
yeah,
anyway. So we'll get more into that as the weeks go on here.
I do want to say real quick too that even though the brick and mortar seems to be dying, I do not think that we should completely rule out selling paperbacks and physical copies. I think
Oh,
that
of
we need to think
course.
about that, not just through Amazon though. You guys remember a couple years ago we had our friend Ben Wolf on here, and Ben makes, I think, the majority of his income, and he's one of those Christian author. Well, he doesn't write Christian books. He's a Christian who writes fantasy, and he makes a living mostly on his books, but I think majority of his living is made from in-person appearances. He goes to Comic Cons and things like that, and he sells books in person and makes good money. Again, we're indie authors. We should be scrappy, right? Like I should be getting a table at every craft fair, because where are the grandmas?
Mm,
Where are the grandmas? Like,
right.
please don't be offended. I'm a grandma too. Like I am. I literally am going to see my grandbaby this weekend, and I love Christian romance. But where are my grandmas? They're at craft fairs. Like for sure, I should have a table at every craft fair selling my books. So I don't want you to think that I'm one of those people that says that the paperback is dead. It is
No.
absolutely not. Not only is
Mm-mm.
paperback not dead, special editions are selling more and better than they ever have before, because again, you know why? It's the direct to reader thing. Authors are
Mhm.
making these special editions, charging boatloads of money for them, making them only a certain number, and people are paying it because it's coming directly from the author. So again, it's that personal thing that you didn't get through the brick and mortar, that you didn't get through traditional publishers. My readers, there are so many ways that they can just be face to face with me digitally, or they can reach out to me on social media, or like, I'm so much more approachable than 10 years ago, an author who was traditionally published. So
Well, and I just have to say, to your point, you have figured out your niche, and you write romance, Christian romance, and there's a really big audience for romance in general. But to find those who want clean and Christian messaging and things like that is a little bit tricky. And you used to have to, once upon a time, only pick certain publishing houses to disseminate your work.
Right.
But now there's room for a broader range of voices and stories, and people want practical and relational books. They don't want necessarily the same. I mean, we always joke about like Hallmark or whatever, but the
Right.
formulaic approach is not necessarily what's going to win the day. And it's not necessarily how you're going to write, because you know the whole idea of being a sellout so that you can sell to the mainstream in the music world. Similar
Right.
kind of a thing with books, but now we can serve those niche audiences and avoid messaging that's considered safe. I mean, you deal with some big topics in your books.
This is like perfect timing in the outline, because Love Qualified has joined us again in the chat. Hi, it's so good to have you back. We've missed you. She says, hi,
Yes.
ladies. It's been a while since I joined your live stream. Excited for this episode. I would love to hear your take on voices, but I agree. I think that going indie has allowed so many different voices and perspectives. Theology and denominations. Like, I think denomination, keep out of it. Like, there's a joke that, or a story that we laugh about somebody slamming me for a certain denominational type of thing that I was writing in my books, and I didn't even know what it was, and Jamie laughed at me, and she was like, you don't know what it is because you don't feel that's not part of what you believe. And I was like, oh, okay. So I believe in keeping like that kind of stuff out, but you could 100% write a book only for people that are in your denomination, and you can publish it. You don't have to worry about a big house trying to, you can write. I could write, from the perspective of, I mean, I don't know, like, I mean, women's voices. Like, I know that Christian romance is written by women, but there are men that write romance and sell, because nobody, like, they don't have to get through a publishing house, right?
Right. Right.
There's just so many more open doors, because we get to open the door. We have to put the work in of finding our audience and maintaining our audience and doing all the work and stuff like that. But we can do it now. There's nobody telling us, no, you can't publish your book.
And now I'm going to ask you to elaborate on what I cut you off before, because you said you have to do it anyway, even if you traditionally publish.
I know. So since I was never traditionally published, I never even tried. Like, I decided that was not for me. I don't know what exactly they do, but the people that I follow that are traditionally published are the ones that are doing all the work. I don't even see them sharing things from their publishing house, where their publishing house is promoting them. And I'm talking about big publishing houses. I'm not talking about these hybrid publishing houses. But like,
they're doing work.
Yeah, but the big Christian publishing houses, which, let's be honest, are owned by big traditional publishing houses, not Christian publishers. They've kind of been watered down anyway. I'm like, I don't want to say any names, because like, I don't want to offend anyone, because I love all these authors, but let's think of a big name Christian author that was traditionally published, and go to their social media, and you'll see all kinds of stuff that they're sharing. And it's really hard to find anything that they have reshared from their publishing house. So I'm not sure what publishing houses are doing.
They give you a big old advance, in fairness.
Sometimes,
well,
not always.
I'm just kind of saying that this is really why people, it's the appeal, is that you will at least make that amount of money if you get a contract with TradPub. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So this is not in the outline, but if you're Karen Kingsbury, yes, I'm sure she gets advances. I'm not a Karen Kingsbury. But nowadays, and then if you get an advance, you don't make another penny on your books until you have earned that advance out. That's why it's called an advance. They're not just giving you a gift. Like, you have to earn that out. And if you have a book or two that doesn't earn out, you're not going to get another book deal with them. Right. she earns out. Let's be honest. Like probably day one, she earns out.
Sure.
But nowadays they're not even giving advances to new authors. So
Really? I did not
yeah.
know this.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very rare that you would get an advance as a new author. But if you're here watching or listening to us and you are a new author, we'd love to hear that. We would
I
love to
want
hear
to
your
know.
story. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because
Hmm.
if to prove us wrong, I love it when people prove me wrong because I've learned something new then. So please do that. But yeah, so you have to. One of the things that they look for before they sign you is they like, what kind of platform do you have? Do you remember that back in the day?
Oh,
When they
yeah.
started, you got to
Hmm.
start your platform before your book's out. So we were like on Twitter and we were everywhere trying to like start a platform with no book,
With no book.
with nothing. It's like it was so much work. Like literally, don't do that. Don't like write your book and then write the second book and maybe even the third book. And then we'll start talking about when you start publishing and building your like have a if I could go back and do it again, I would like to say that I would do it differently. Maybe I wouldn't because I'm pretty stubborn. But if I could go back, I would write all 4 books before I published the first one. So, and before I started trying to build an email list or started trying to build any sort of platform. But that was the advice back then is because again, we were basing everything on traditional publishers and they would
And
not
they
take
wanted that platform.
they wanted that platform because they wanted to see, oh, she already has an audience she can sell to. So basically, they were saying, we want someone that's already kind of famous. We want somebody who's maybe a pastor or a pastor's wife that's pretty
Yeah.
famous. You know what I mean? That's kind of what.
No.
But at the time,
And
we
I
didn't really
do
realize
see,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I do every time there's somebody out there in the world that I listen to for news or I listen to for some other reason, and they're like, "Oh, I have a book." And then especially if it's a fiction book, I'm always just kind of like, rats, because I feel like you're selling off of that platform and
Yeah.
you're going to get sales because people know you as the weather girl from Channel 4 or whatever. I don't know. I'm making
Yeah.
something up, but do you know what I mean? Anyway, whatever.
Right. But
Okay.
so it's this one more thing, and then we're going to wrap this up. The readers want a real life application. Obviously, they want testimony driven content. So they want you to be real, I guess is what I'm saying. They want a
Mm-hmm.
real author, basically. So again, in a world full of AI, and if you're an author and you even go to AuthorTube or anywhere, you're going to see all of the AI controversies right now and people like the books that are being produced with AI and ruining like our incomes and things like that. You know how and I've seen authors upload their books to that's a whole nother episode. We're gonna do an AI episode soon.
Yeah.
Hold on to that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just talk about if this is good or bad, Jamie. Is it good that things have changed? There's goods in there. There's good and there's bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is that gatekeeper is more or less gone, and you have all this creative freedom, and you can kind of do whatever you want and write for whatever audience you want to write for.
Yes. New
That's
voice.
great. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Even if like I don't enjoy your writing, who cares? You have an audience. Like there's an author. I really did not like her books. I read 2 of them. I started the 3rd one. I couldn't get through it. I'm like, because they were all the same. They all bothered me. And I'm like, I don't have to keep reading these. But she's famous, right? So
Mm-hmm.
who cares if I don't like it? Right? If I were the gatekeeper at a publishing house, her books would never been published. But
Good
here she is
point.
making a living at it, right? So more voices, more varied voices. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like there's more kinds. I don't think you could walk into 10 years ago, walk into Family Christian stores and have found a interracial romance, Christian romance. I don't think you could have. They're out there, 100% out there because there are readers for it. Like, and there are good
Mm-hmm.
stories. There are good writers and there's good stories. I don't think you could have found somebody that like was writing it would have been hard to find teen romance that was
Mm-hmm.
clean because there wasn't a huge market for it, right? People weren't like, but YA is huge. And I'm telling you, folks, if you're not reading the YA that your kids are reading, you need to because there's things in there you don't want your kids reading. So Christian YA, there isn't a huge audience where a big Christian or big publisher wants to do it. But I'm telling you, there's an audience for it. So the gatekeepers, they're not there anymore. So that's the good. All right, so there's cons though too. It is hard to
Yeah.
stand out. It's
Yeah, like you
hard.
said about your book spines just showing to the world.
Yeah, like being scrappy gets exhausting. I will say
Mhm.
it isn't easy. Um, and I talked about how like different theologies, like there's no gatekeeper. Well, that's another problem too. There's no gatekeeper. So just
Right.
because somebody publishes a book that is insights into the life of Jesus, you don't know that it's actually factual. You have to be careful what you read. And so there's no oversight there.
And
Um,
the quality. This is the
mm,
reason why you know the term gatekeepers, because I would say, well, the gatekeepers really did serve a purpose because the market is just glutted with horrible writing, rip off kind of just, you buy something. This is clearly AI generated. This is clearly not edited well, whatever. So the gatekeepers mean that the quality varies widely now that they are gone.
right.
And now the marketing burden is 100% on the author instead of whatever it is if you're traditionally published. At least you have a little bit of help, but all of it is on you as the author. And this is something that I was griping to Jen about, and that I'm always griped about, is I don't want to sell books. I want to write books. And so if that's the way you feel, then maybe your writing needs to stay a hobby.
Right.
But these are things that we can talk about in future episodes.
And I think that next week's episode, we should talk about. So today we talked about what's changing. I think that next week we should talk about what that means for you. So we're going to
Yeah.
get down to the nitty gritty of what does it really mean for you as an
Yeah.
author, these changes. So
I
we'll do
think
that
that's a
next
good
week.
idea. All right. So make sure you tune in for that. But for now, we're going to go to my favorite segment of the episode, and that's the feeding of the backs, which means we give each other feedback on little sprints that we write. And these are only positive and encouraging feedback comments. And the reason for that is these are writing sprints that we are vulnerable enough to share with the world after just writing for 15 minutes with reckless abandon, just writing to say that we've written for the day or writing to the prompt so we have something to read for you all. We don't edit them. We don't declare this is ready for publication, and yet we publicly read them. So we give each other only positive and encouraging feedback on these sprints. And we do this every Friday. We write to a prompt that we share with our Facebook group. So go on over there if you want to give this a try. And Jen, what was our prompt today and what did you write?
I'm so glad I get to go first. So
Why?
we wrote last night together with our Patreon supporters that wanted to join us, because this is our 30 days of writing sprints challenge in April here, and which I know we haven't promoted it well because I'm terrible at that kind of thing. This is still kind of in beta form, everybody. Anywho, and we finished that sprint and I was like, oh, that was horrible. Jamie's like, that was great. So Jamie's is super long. Mine took me
Doesn't mean
forever to
it's
get.
great.
Mine is super short and it was terrible. And I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna steal some minutes for the next one to do a full 15 minutes. And then I'm like, no, that's not really real. I talked with Jamie and the girls. Like the real thing is this one was hard for me and this is what you get. So here we go.
Yeah.
So the prompt was, a decision made in haste leads to unexpected consequences. Okay. Marnie was actually early for her interview. Well, at least she had been early. And since she was early, she just knew that she had time to grab a coffee. It would only take a minute. And besides, the caffeine would calm her nerves. That's how coffee works, isn't it? The problem was, it took longer than a minute. And by the time she got her coffee and onto the tea, she had eaten up all of her I'm early minutes. But it would be fine as long as there were no issues with the tea today. Please exit the car, the voice rang over the speaker. This car is being rerouted to another line. Please exit the car. Of course it is, she thought as she stepped out onto the platform. She looked around for any identifying signs. One large red sign hung over the platform with the words Downtown Crossing emblazoned across it. Downtown Crossing was only one stop away from South Station, her original 3, 2, 1.
Well, I'm glad you came back. I'm sorry, my video was frozen for a minute, so I was worried that I was going to be dropped.
Oh.
But so this is interesting because you know how you told me like that I have a knack for writing something without saying it. So it was really interesting to hear about the way that the car was being rerouted to another line. My mind immediately went to like one of those self-driving, whatever they're called, cars. But then I realized, oh, so this must be what it's like to be in public transit in Boston. And it was very interesting, specifically to me for that reason, because I did not ever have that experience. And so to think about having to factor that into a commute or a trip, and and she stopped for a coffee and it ate up all of her I'm early minutes is so relatable.
I know.
Oh
Here
man, I mean, how long could it possibly take?
here's what part of the problem is I was inside my head for 2 months as I was trying to write it too. I've not been on the T in 20 years.
Mm.
It's probably changed a whole lot in 20 years. Like, everything's probably electronic. Like, I don't know. I don't even know, like, the teas that we wrote, I feel like were the same teas that were in the '70s, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
they just felt old and dirty and whatnot, but, like, I mean but who knows? And so, Piper is actually going into Boston on the train and gonna be riding the T around the city, so I'm gonna talk with her after she's done
Mhm.
doing that and try to get some because, like, do I wanna write this story like it's the '90s? I could, but that wasn't my
No,
idea.
your whole social media thing would just go right
Yes,
out the window.
right. So that's the hard thing is, like but I don't wanna write something that doesn't sound like people I don't want people to be like, "What are you talking about? That isn't what it's like in Boston because 'cause it's been so long." So,
Well, I mean, that's how many people who read your book are actually from Boston is another question. And also,
it
I
just
didn't
takes
know they
one.
called it, yeah, I didn't know they called it the T.
Mhm. Yep.
So that's just for your information. People who are not from around there do not know. But as you said, people who are going to be very vocal.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't blame them. So, anyway, so
Hmm.
that's what it's like when things don't work out. You still get some I still got some writing done. In the
Yep.
next sprint, I wrote something I love. So,
Well, and writing is a muscle, and you need to
true.
exercise it just like any other muscle. And you did.
It's true. Thank you. All right, Jamie, what'd you write? Let's hear. Everyone sit back. It's going to be great.
No, it's just long. It's not necessarily great. Okay.
Okay.
All right. The blue or the red? Let me know what you guys think. Cassie stopped the recording and allowed her finger to hover over the post button for only a few seconds as she considered whether the video needed editing. She actually couldn't believe what a great job she'd done on this final take, modeling 2 pairs of shoes for her viewers. Of course, their opinions would mean nothing. Cassie had only barely been able to walk on the high pointed heels of the navy shoes she'd strutted around in, and the red shoes pinched her toes terribly and were absolutely going back to the store. In fact, she wasn't even going to wear the body hugging midi dress she'd tried the shoes on with. She was going to the theater after all, not clubbing with her besties. She smiled a crafty smile as she imagined how her rage bait post was likely stirring up the ire of her hate watchers even now, who would rush to the comments to talk about how tacky her choice of dress was and how both pairs of shoes were ugly as sin. You almost ready, babe? Brian came into the room wearing nothing but his towel, smelling of shave cream and soap. Nope, but I see you are, she teased, booping him playfully on the nose. Cute dress, but I'm surprised you'd choose that hemline for the theater. Cassie was glad her husband paid attention to such things, even if it was only to please her. He pretty much wore the same kind of outfit to everything they attended: jeans, button down, sport coat. But guys could get away with stuff like that. Even now, he was rifling through his shirts, and she could see he was considering ones that would play off the colors in her dress. You are so smart, Cassie told him. Of course, I'm not wearing this. If you want to play matchy matchy with me, I'm going to be wearing my lime green chiffon. Ah, I love that one with your dark hair, Brian sighed. But then he quirked a brow. So then, what are you doing in that little number? I was filming. Filming? Yeah, for my fans. I have those. Cassie, just wait until I have enough viewers to get monetized. Cassie listened, but Cassie was fully invested in her fantasy now. When I start bringing in a streaming income, the first thing I'm going to buy is that new truck you've been pining for. And if the ducats are still rolling in, maybe I'll even be able to quit my job just in time for us to start our little family. Brian chuckled and shook his head. Well, I'm sorry I ever doubted you, pet. In fact, I'm certain this video is going to go viral. Oh, Brian, you believe in me, she squealed and flung her arms about his neck, and he spun with her like a swing dancer. As she whirled, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. Gasping, she wrenched herself away. Brian! I tried to tell you. Oh, no, Brian! Cassie had wondered what had made Brian so convinced her video would go viral, and what Cassie had seen as she whirled was quite revealing indeed. There was a full-length mirror in the far corner of the room. This was fine, except Cassie only now realized her dress had been tucked into the back of her pantyhose as she was filming. The mirror had been showing her underpants-clad backside to the entire world. You should have told me! Cassie was furiously fumbling with the buttons of her phone. I tried. And then the timer went.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. All right, when anyone replays this, you're gonna see the moment that I realize something's up. I was like, oh, you know what I thought it was? I thought that she'd accidentally gone live and everyone was gonna be able to hear her saying, like, I'm gonna make money. And so I was like, oh no, Cassie, no.
Yeah, that hot mic moment. I'm old enough to remember when do you remember Nancy Kerrigan's hot mic moment? She was on a float for a Disney parade or something, and she was waving to everybody, but meanwhile she was saying something like, oh, all these idiot people, or I don't even know what it was, but she was busted for saying whatever.
America's Sweetheart.
Not a hot mic moment. Mm-hmm. Yes, that was the whole thing.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's so good, Jamie. Always like I feel like these people are real, and I love the play between the husband and wife. It was really fun. That was a really fun listen to, and it's a complete story, beginning, middle, end. Loved it.
Well, and I think that's why I was able to get so many words, is because I knew exactly where I was going. And on the days when I'm just like, I have nothing for this prompt, it's really like, I don't know what should happen here, what's going on. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really good shattering moment. Love it.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, so what is next, Jen? You had hinted around about something called 30 Days of Writing Sprints. What is that all about?
Well, we tried it November, and then all of a sudden April is here, and so we're doing it again. 30 Days of Writing Sprint prompts. 30 Days of Writing Sprint Challenge is we are challenging everybody to spend 15 minutes writing once a day. That's the minimum. And so if you want to join us in doing it in our Patreon, you could come over. Doesn't cost a whole lot. And you can join us on Patreon and join us every night at 8 p.m. as we sprint. We usually do 3 sprints, chat between them, chat afterwards. But you don't have to do that. You just challenge yourself to sit down and write for 15 minutes every single day, and it will change. It will get your brain going, and it will change. Having that practice and having that it'll change the way that you approach your writing. So that's what we're doing this month. And so that's what I'm doing every day.
Yeah, and same. And I do have to say that if you're somebody like me who has backburnered your writing career and you're looking for an easy entry back into thinking about what your writing is going to be and what your writing means to you, this is a really good, gentle reintroduction to life of writing. Finding 15 minutes to hammer out a little writing sprint could possibly be just the thing that you need to reawaken your love of the craft, your interest in trying to get your words out there. And if you're anything like me, you'll write quite a few things that make you feel like, oh gosh, I do have things I want to say to the world and things I want to get out there. And so we do encourage you to take a crack at this challenge, even if it's not writing live with us. We would love to hear about any successes that this challenge brings to you.
Exactly.
Okay, so I guess with that, this concludes this episode of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast. Until next time, may your pen be prolific, may your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ.
Bye, everyone.